Block 39 of the Tunisian sampler Afghan is the fans block. To make the fan, it's a combination of 7 stitches. You skip the first 3 posts, you yarn over and insert into the 4th post, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, and then you repeat that 7 times. Yarn over, bring up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. There's 3. There's 5. And that should be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you skip the next 3 posts, and then you'll do your simple stitch. And I'm just going to do it to the end. This is just a little sample to show you the fan. The second half of the row, if you're doing individual unattached blocks, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to yarn over and draw through 2 all the way across. But this is your fan right here. Skip 3 stitches, do 7 of these stitches in 1 post, and then skip 3. Okay, now let's explain the spacing here. Here's the block itself. And it's done in a series of simple stitch rows and fan rows. 4 rows of simple stitch, then a fan row, 4, etc. The pattern itself, if you're doing individual blocks that you're going to join together later, calls for 29 stitches. And so when you start, once you've brought up your color, that first stitch, you go straight into the fan, where you skip 3 stitches, you do your fan, you skip 3 stitches, then you do 3 simple stitches before you go into the next fan. Because I'm doing 36 stitches per row, I am joining these blocks as I go along. So every one of my blocks are the same number of stitches in width and the same numbers of rows in height. And I'm doing 36 stitches wide and 29 rows tall. So I'm going to have 4 plus 1 is 5, 10, 15, 20, 5, and then my final 4 rows to make 29. So the spacing came out on this pretty good. For the fan rows themselves, the first row, and this is the same whether you do this individually or you do this the way I'm doing it with 36 stitches. The first fan row will have 3 fans, the next one will have 2, then 3, then 2, and you alternate those. And the reason is, as you can see, you're adding a lot of height with these fans, and so you want to offset that every other row. Now what I did for spacing, because I'm actually making this 7 stitches wider than the pattern itself calls for, I added 3 stitches to the beginning and 4 stitches to the end to make sure that I was more or less centering my fans within the block. So I started out, there's my end stitch, which is the first stitch, then I did 3 simple stitches, then I skipped 3 posts to do my first fan, skip 3 posts, then we do 3 simple stitches, fan, 3, fan, and I ended up doing 5 on the end here because I added 4 to the end stitch. Okay, in the next row you're only going to do 2 fan stitches, so you're going to have more simple stitches in between. I think the pattern calls for you to have your end stitch plus 4 simple stitches. To that I added 3 more, and then fan, then you're going to do 5 simple stitches in between, a fan, and then to the 5 on the end I added my 4, so I ended up doing 9 on the end. Then you go back to your first one, and that's basically your fan block. That's block 39 of the Tunisian sampler Afghan. This is based on this Afghan that I'm doing in these individual videos for each block is based on a 52 block Tunisian sampler. It's leaflet 2501 on leisurearts.com. It's no longer in print, but you can get it as PDF download. And I'm doing each of the blocks in that Afghan sampler. I'm not necessarily doing them in the same order, because as I'm picking the blocks I want to do, I'm building on the previous blocks that we've already done as far as adding new stitches, but I'm also trying to add variety so that I'm not doing all the popcorn type stitch blocks in one column and all of the multiple color blocks in one column. I'm just trying to add variety to the Afghan. And the way I'm doing this is as I'm creating each block, I'm also creating the vertical sashing and attaching it, crocheting it to the previous column of blocks. And I'm also, as you can see here, staggering so that the sashing from the previous column splits the block that I'm working on. That's essentially it. This is block 39 of the Tunisian sampler Afghan, and I want to thank you for watching. I also want to thank you for patiently waiting for this video. I broke my wrist in January, and physical therapy and healing took quite a bit longer than I thought it would. It's amazing how much you use your wrist for, but crocheting, it's kind of critical to be able to turn that wrist without pain. So I'm back, and I'm going to be back in the swing, and my goodness, I hope we'll finish this Afghan before an entire year goes by. Thanks for watching.